To access your national competency standards, you need to go to training.gov.au. In there you'll find training packages. A training package is a set of nationally endorsed standards and qualifications across a range of industries. These can be used to recognise and assess the skills and knowledge of people to become qualified and allows them to perform effectively in their workplace. Training packages are the key source for RTOs when delivering a structured training program. The purpose of a training package is to enable training participants who have successfully demonstrated their competence to earn nationally recognised qualifications. They encourage the development and delivery of training to suit individual needs, as well as learning in a workplace environment in an ongoing basis. The final purpose is to provide a pool of potential employees who meet nationally recognised standards of competence in any particular field. The Australian Industry Skills Committee, AISC, appoints Industry Reference Committees, IRCs, to oversee the development and review of training packages. This includes the qualifications, skill sets, and units. Gaps that emerge and skill needs that are identified by industry reference committees and the industry are captured in skills forecasts. The IRC skills forecasts are the cases for change, and projects are submitted to AISC for approval. AISC then determines the national schedule of review and development projects. The qualifications, skill sets, and units are reviewed and developed through consultation with subject matter experts and stakeholders. The revised qualifications, skill sets, and units are then endorsed by the AISC and made publicly available on training.gov.au. You can see the current status of any training package on training.gov.au by looking up any training package code. In this example, the Business Services Training Package, also known as the BSB package, is current and it was endorsed in 2015. When a client's training needs cannot be met by a course within the guidelines of an existing training package, accredited courses may be written by private individuals or organisations. They are submitted to the local regulator, whether that's ASQA or the Victorian or Western Australian regulator, in order to be reviewed, evaluated and endorsed. Once they are endorsed, they can appear on training.gov.au and become nationally recognised qualifications. The format of the code for any accredited courses will depend on where it's applicable and who is overseeing the regulation of the program. In this case, the code ends with NAT, standing for National, meaning that this qualification, the Certificate for in Learning Design and Facilitation, can be delivered nationally. The code and name must meet the guidelines for VETMIS data. This is the data that's captured by the NCVER, the National Centre for Vocational Education Research. This data is supplied by every registered training organisation, and therefore the formats are very important. The format of the code must be no longer than 12 digits long, and the format of the course name, including spaces, can be no more than 100 characters. Speaking of endorsements, when reviewing and endorsing training packages, the AISC looks at the competency standards, these are the units of competency or modules, the assessment guidelines, and the qualifications framework. So once a training package is endorsed, you know that these standards are being kept nationally. Also on training.gov.au, you can access qualifications. The qualification layout starts with the code. The code of the qualification starts with the first 3 letters that indicate the training package to which the qualification belongs. Titles for Certificate 1 through to Certificate 4 are stated as Certificate 1 to Certificate 4 in a particular area. Diplomas and advanced diplomas are named as Diploma of or Advanced Diploma of a particular vocation. The qualification description outlines the industry that the qualification applies to and reflects a certain role within that industry. If there are entry requirements, for instance having a prerequisite to a particular qualification, then that will be listed under the entry requirements in the qualification details. Packaging rules denote the number of units required to complete that particular qualification, as well as the list of core units and any elective units that can be selected. Within the elective units, there will be some decisions to be made about what electives will suit the target audience of a learning program or a training and assessment strategy. Finally, in the qualification, there is mapping that denotes any equivalencies to previously endorsed qualifications. If we look further into packaging rules, we can see that electives may be selected from the list below the qualification core units, or from any currently endorsed training package or accredited course at a particular level. In this case, it says Cert 4 or above because this is a Cert 4 unit. However, you may see packaging rules that allow for AQF levels below and above the qualification level that is endorsed. However, in all cases, the elective unit chosen must be relevant to a work outcome and meet local industry needs. The components of units of competency include the unit code and title, which denotes if the unit of competency has superseded a previous version, the unit sector that it applies to, such as training and assessment, business services, financial services, etc. The application is similar to the qualification description for the whole qualification, and it explains the type of work that this unit of competency applies to. Prerequisites may include things like licenses or previous qualifications or units that must be held before completing this unit of competency. Importantly, the elements and performance criteria explain the tasks and the breakdown of those tasks to complete that particular unit. In some units, a range of conditions may apply. For accredited courses, this is optional, and for the new streamlined training packages, units usually exclude the range of conditions. The foundation skills relate to the Australian Core Skills Framework and the Core Skills for Work Framework. These are the skills that need to be applied in order to complete the unit of competency in a competent way. These include everything from reading, writing, oral communication, getting the job done, and so forth. Foundation skills are always embedded in the unit of competency when a person competently performs that task. However, many units do list the foundation skills, and some even map those foundation skills to the particular performance criteria. Unit mapping information simply acknowledges any changes to the unit of competency since the previous version, if that's applicable. Performance evidence and knowledge evidence are then listed below. This is incredibly important when developing learning programs because this explains how that skill should be performed and what knowledge needs to underpin that skill in order for a person to be found competent. Oftentimes, this will include the number of times the skill has to be performed and a list of knowledge that needs to be understood before applying that skill. The assessment conditions outline how an assessment really should be undertaken. Although it doesn't describe the methods to be used, it does outline the conditions in which it should be undertaken, usually within a workplace or a simulated environment that closely resembles a workplace. It will also list the required access to resources for that particular assessment. The links will normally take you to companion guides and other information that are non-endorsed components of a training package. Training packages use codes to help you navigate the industry, qualifications, and units. The first three letters are the industry code. In this example, the TAE stands for the Training and Assessment Training Package. At the qualification level, the first digit signifies the AQF level of the qualification. In this case, it's a 4, which designates it as a Certificate 4. If it was a 5, it would be designated as a diploma. The next two digits are simply an integer that indicate that this is just one Certificate 4 qualification in this training package. If it was a 2, you would be able to conclude that there are at least 2 qualifications at the Certificate 4 level. The final two digits are the year that this particular qualification was endorsed. This is 2016. For the unit codes, the second three letters denote the field that the particular unit occupies. In this case, the DES stands for the design units. In the Certificate 4 of Training and Assessment, other familiar unit codes are LLN, designating language literacy and numeracy, ASS, designating assessment, and DEL, designating delivery. The first number identifies the AQF level of that unit, again an AQF level 4. And finally, in a similar manner to the integers in the qualification code, this simply denotes the first unit of competency in this field. This alphanumeric system does not apply across all training packages. Although the training package code does feature in things like Foundation Training Package and the Health Training Package, as illustrated here, the last three digits simply indicate an incremental integer. The main reason for this is that the review process for these units is somewhat different, given that the skills and knowledge required to complete the units are regulated by standards outside of the training package standards. The final example here is from an accredited course module. This particular unit forms part of a qualification whose code is 10893 NAT. So you can see here that with a reshuffle of those digits, you'll have NAT at the front of the unit code, stating that it's a nationally delivered unit of competency, followed by the 10893 of the qualification code, and then an integer, in this case 001, meaning it's the first module endorsed under this qualification code. When creating a learning program, it's vitally important to select the appropriate units based on the clear description of your target cohort or audience. Coming up with that requires you to ask these questions. What is the purpose of the program? What are the expected outcomes? And what must participants be able to do after completing the program? By asking these questions, selection of the elective units will become clearer. Once the selection of core and elective units has been made, there will still be a need to contextualize the training to meet the specific work requirements. In this case, we refer to the Ocean World case study in the textbook. The way to contextualize a unit of competency starts with listing the performance criteria and elements and interpreting them in a way that best suits the work outcomes for your client or target cohort.